continues. He says, in the same period, the Supreme Court dismantled much of America's campaign finance law. That's the one we should be paying attention to. Yes, Shelby County versus Holder was held 2013, but that damn Citizens United,
yes,
that's the one. That's where John Roberts told these white boys, y'all can just buy straight by elections. Please understand, we got to pay attention. Let's continue. It says, severely weakened the Voting Rights Act, permitted states to opt out of the Affordable Care Act's Medicaid expansion. This is what Martin Luther King trying to tell you, poor white people. Y'all want your whiteness or your teeth? You can't have both. And held that every state must permit same-sex couples to marry, meaning there were some other decisions that went on the other end of the spectrum. But this is the point he's making. He says this powerful unelected body. So there are three branches of government, only one of them is unelected. And guess what? This is what he says. This powerful unelected body, now controlled by 6 very conservative Republicans, has and will become the locus of policymaking in the United States. While we was arguing about Jay-Z and Beyonce, while we was arguing about hashtag this or that, while we arguing about ADOS and that, these white nastas had a 50-year plan, really beginning with the Voting Rights Act of 65, to make sure that the framework their grandparents, I'm sorry, Cory Booker, George Washington, you're not my dad. I know you're Cory Booker's dad, but you're not my dad. You understand? You're not black people's dad. And Cory, I pray, bro, that that's just a performance, because you know that ain't your daddy either. I know you was talking to Katanji, and yeah, you talking about grandparents and your great grandmother, and she reminded you of your mother. But if she reminded you of your mother for real, you wouldn't. You'd punch these white boys in the face. Dick Durbin not gonna do it. He did the best he can, but he a white man. He believes in colleagues and all this other stuff. You man. Now John Ossoff sound a little bit like Martin Luther King. You understand what I'm saying? But we know what they call John Ossoff in Georgia as they begin to pare back those voting rights. And it ain't pretty, because see, John Ossoff's whiteness is also compromised. He's Jewish. See, y'all gonna understand about these racists one day. Cory, stop mixing. You're mixing many things. And as Malcolm said, in a suit, you're speaking a language they don't understand. But what he is saying, Millhauser is saying, is that that unelected body, while we talking about this other stuff, the court has been fixed so that they can maintain this settler enterprise. You're taking power from the state legislatures and reserving it for yourself. Are you the president of the United States? No. Are you the federal legislature, legislative branch? No. Who are you? I'm the courts. Nobody voted for you. Yeah, when you voted for the president and the executive, you voted. I mean, the legislature, you voted for me. Nah, my vote was suppressed. I mean, people, I ain't voting. It don't make no difference. Okay, tangibles. Okay, ADOS. Okay, FBA. Let's pause and calm down here for this reason. Your nativism is informed by a flawed logic. There's no such thing called a nation called the United States. There's no concept. You're appealing to something that doesn't exist. There's no legal argument you can make that will supersede whiteness. This is what Derek Bell was trying to tell y'all. And while Ted Cruz is like, can a baby be racist? I'm a Hispanic man. Can I be an Asian American man? What is a woman? He then brings up a litany of people. Well, you know, here are the books that are most popular at Georgetown Day School, and you're on the board. So, and I'm saying, I hope somebody goes out and gets this book that he held up. Richard Delgado and Gene Stefanczyk, the 3rd edition, Critical Race Theory, an introduction. It's a nice 1 volume. If you want to read about critical race theory, Ted Cruz show you what to read in his damn commercial that he didn't know he was making. You bring up Derek Bell in your haste. Hillbillies like that Beverly Hillbilly Marsha Blackburn in the state I was born in. I left the house a couple of times this week. One time was to go down and meet with some young people who are undergraduates at Vanderbilt University. And let me just say to them, my niece, I say my niece because her mother and I and my brother, we were all in school together at Tennessee State. So they came to, my mother's rituals funeral, and that's where I met her. And so, I call her my niece. She, her mother and father, very proud of her. She's at Vanderbilt. She's the chief of staff for Vanderbilt student government. That was an unthinkable thing when I was their age. I was so glad to meet with all these young people. It's like 7 or 8 of them black kids from Vanderbilt up to lobby on Capitol Hill as part of the slave economic concern, Southeastern Conference, lobbying day, Capitol Hill. So they came to DC. One of the young sisters is actually coming to Howard Law School in the fall. So I got to sit with them for a couple of hours, sitting there in Union Station, walking around, just sitting, talking. I was glad to meet with those young people, but they got a chance. They said they saw, and Marsha Blackburn took a picture with them and scurried away. back to whatever hovel they have her in, which of course she was safe on January the 6th. But so I asked them, I said, well, how was she? They said, well, she took a picture and next thing you know, she was gone. I said, okay, she got her Negro quotient for the year. And she don't even realize that you 8 young people right here, y'all some of the finest human beings on the planet. I mean, it was just great to hear a bunch of 19, 20, 21, 22-year-olds process what they saw, because they were on the Hill at the same time as the testimony. So they could see what was going on outside the Senate office building, around in the environment. And I tell you, this is why we have to have governance spaces. Another reason. We've got to be able to process this kind of stuff, because you don't want to be 19, 20 years old trying to make sense of a world that don't make no sense by yourself. You need some people who've been around the block. But you know, Ted Cruz and them so determined to stuff Derek Bell in their mouth that, you know, they may have missed where Ketanji Brown Jackson talks about being in her house in Florida when her daddy was studying, and this book being on the table. This is Faces at the Bottom of the Well, The Permanence of Racism. And one of the things Ketanji Brown Jackson says, and you know, I didn't know Derek Bell well, but I did know him. This came out in 1992, 2 years after I graduated from law school. First time I met Derek Bell, in fact, he had come to Ohio State to read from his book, And We Are Not Saved. And he was actually introduced by a brother who's an ancestor now. They're both ancestors, in fact, Dave Williams, who was a federal income tax professor, who the students, these young people at Vanderbilt, did not know, because he made transition. He retired and made transition a couple of years ago, right at COVID, and right before COVID. But he's a legend at Vanderbilt because he came to Vanderbilt with the chancellor at Vanderbilt, Gordon Gee at the time, who had been at Ohio State when we burned the American flag and held Gee and his whole administration hostage the day after they let them cops go to beat Rodney King, and said, here are our demands. And when Gordon Gee left being president of Ohio State and came to Vanderbilt, he took Dave Williams with him, who was a professor of law at the law school, black guy from Detroit, tax lawyer, brilliant brother. And Dave Williams and Gordon Gee were the ones who reimagined athletics at Vanderbilt and diminished it from, you know, SEC kind of stuff to nobody gets any favorites. It's very interesting. So the young people say, oh, you knew Dave Williams? Dave Williams is my professor. He's a legend at Vanderbilt. I said, yeah, that was before y'all's time. But let me walk y'all through that. And it was Dave Williams who introduced me to Derek Bell, the person. I hadn't read his book. But Ketanji Brown Jackson, who's 51, I'm 56, when she was watching her daddy study, this other book by Derek Bell was on the table. These white boys so rabid, they don't even understand. Why you ask her about critical race theory? She not going to say nothing crazy, because since Robert Bork was nominated by, what was that devil's name? I can't, what's his name? Well, that's nothing. I said, when y'all flying out? They said they're flying out the next day. I said, y'all flying out of Dulles or National? They said National. I said, you know, black people in DC don't call it the R word. Do you know 3 of those kids was it 3 or 2? It was 2 of them. Said, my mom said the same thing. They don't call it, they call it National. Right, we don't say the R word in Washington. That's worse than any other curse word you could make. In fact, the initials for National is DCA. You can imagine what the D stands for in Southeast DC. Shout out to Southeast DC. But at any rate, that guy nominated Senator Dale O'Connor. I'm going to say his name. Forgive me for cursing. Ronald Reagan nominated Senator Dale O'Connor, first time. His second bite at the apple, he nominated Rehnquist, William Rehnquist. The third bite at the apple, he nominated Antonin Scalia.
Jesus.
And then the fourth bite at the apple, he put up Robert Bork. Got good to him. Bork, nutty ass, sitting on that same DC Court of Appeals Brown Jackson is on. The one they probably gonna put Michelle Childs on. Shout out to Clarence Thomas. Get well soon and retire. Your wife out here tearing up the whole damn country, and your ass won't recuse yourself from nothing. And y'all ask Ketanji if she's gonna recuse herself from the affirmative action case, and then Ketanji sitting in front of y'all says, yes, she will. Come on, Black Ivy. I understand why you had to say it, because you had to make sure that cosplay coal miner from West Virginia didn't get out of line. Did the Toonie Loon say she gonna vote for her? I didn't see what Cinema said.
I didn't see it. She didn't say.
Watch for that Toonie Loon. But I'm telling y'all what, y'all put Ketanji on. See, the vast majority of our people ain't having the conversation we having right now, but they know her name is black as hell. Y'all mess around and don't confirm her. See if you have a country. You're gonna add one of these days. You're gonna strike the right match.